Hi, how is everyone? Oh, well, good to see you this evening. We are on, in our book, about Swami Akhandananda. We're on page 114, I think. We had just talked about two different kinds of prasad, special prasad and regular prasad. And Maharaj said no. Everything had to be the same, the buni khichdi, which we don't know what buni khichdi is. And on the Mahotsava day, all monks of the Alambazar Math, except one or two, went to Dakshineshwar, where work in the kitchen had begun before dawn. Girish Babu and other householder devotees had also arrived. The Kali Kirtan singers, dressed in ochre robes for the occasion, had made their obeisance to the Divine Mother Kali, and were now in the pavilion ready to sing. Another party of singers sat outside the master's room, singing the glories of Lord Hari. Swami Akhandananda was standing near the storeroom when some people came to him asking for food. He brought out a basket of sweets for distribution amongst them, and immediately the whole basket was snatched by the eager crowd. Many distinguished gentlemen arrived, among them Dharmapala of the Mahabodhi Society. He and his friends suggested that it would be good if, along with the prasad, some spiritual food were served. Swami Akhandananda promptly replied, "Why, the Kali Kirtan and the Hari Sankirtan are serving that purpose," singing and dancing in the devotional music. Unfortunately, at this time, there was an epidemic of cholera in the locality. Whenever Swami Akhandananda heard of anyone falling ill, particularly of cholera, he would attend the patient at the risk of his own life. Among those was an old woman he saw one day, lying unconscious at the Alambazar crossing. He procured a clean cloth, wrapped the woman in it, and took her to a police station in a bullock cart. The police sent her to the Campbell Hospital. On hearing about it, Swami Shivananda requested the Swami, when he arrived, to have his clothing and all disinfected before entering the math. This is being spiritual but staying practical. Don't bring cholera into the math. Swami Akhandananda had visited many holy places throughout the country, but very few in Bengal itself. So now he set out on foot to Kharda to see Shamasundra, the deity of that place, which is associated with the life of Sri Nityananda, the companion of Sri Chaitanya. He arrived at noon and was the guest of a well-to-do Brahmin. As was customary, the temple door was closed at that time of day, so he could not see the deity. He decided to stay overnight. The Mahabharata was being read at the house where he stayed, and it was the final day of the reading. In the afternoon, the Brahmin Pandit, who was the reader, arrived from Halisahar, bathed in perspiration. At night, Swami Akhandananda went out to visit the deity, returning to find the reading almost done. The Pandit was reciting, "Life is as unsteady as a drop of water on a lotus petal." After a while, it became quite apparent that the man was quite ill. Before retiring to bed, the master of the house went to see the reader and sent him a vial of chlorodyne. That must be some kind of medicine, containing chloroform, morphine, hemp, prussic acid, etc. Good Lord. But he grew worse during the night, and the physician had to be called. Meanwhile, Swami Akhandananda attended him, doing what he could to relieve the man's discomfort. In the room there was only a small bowl of water, which was insufficient. He knocked at the door of the host's room for some time, but got no response. Finally, he was compelled to share the water from the bowl with the sick man. At 3 o'clock in the morning, a Brahmin widow took up the nursing, and the patient requested the Swami to send a telegram to his family. He expired at 8 o'clock that morning. By 10, his wife, son, daughter, and son-in-law arrived. After the cremation of the body, the pundit's relatives tearfully entreated Swami Akhandananda to visit their home, which he was able to do later. Lord, I wonder what he had. From Karda, Swami Akhandananda went to the village of Simana, where he saw the deity Nandadulala. He passed the night there, returning to the Mat the next day. A few days later, he went to Halishahar and saw the seat of the great mystic and composer Ram Prasad. He also visited the Triveni on the other side of the Ganga. That's the meeting of three streams or rivers. Swami Akhandananda now had a great desire to establish a Vedic school in Bengal, similar to the one in Khatri, for in Bengal, the study of the Vedas was hardly known at that time. He discussed it with his brother monks. Swami Ramakrishna especially gave him encouragement, requesting him to find a Vedic scholar and bring him to the Mat. From Varanasi, Pramada Babu wrote that there were men who could pronounce ancient Sanskrit and recite the Vedas well enough, but they knew little or nothing of the meaning of their texts. Swami Akhandananda was mortified to hear this of a place like Varanasi. At this time, he learned from the newspapers that in Bengal, Budeb Mukhopadhyaya had bequeathed on his deathbed more than 100,000 rupees for the propagation of Vedic studies. And that work had already been started. Swami Akhandananda went to see for himself how it was proceeding. Encouraged by the philanthropy, he felt that it would be helpful to give this project some publicity in the newspapers. The Bengali then had a good circulation, and he spoke about the project with the illustrious orator, publisher of the Bengali, Surendranath Banerjee. Surendranath expressed great interest in the proposal and agreed to publicize it in his paper. The Swami then went to Bhatpara, a village renowned for its learned men, where he discovered that the scholars were in full sympathy with the scheme. They desired that the Mat should pioneer the movement. Accompanied by some scholars, Swami Akhandananda then went to Budeb Babu's house in Chinchura and stayed there for a few days. Regarding Vedic studies, Mukunda Babu, Budeb Babu's son, pointed out to the guests, they are Vedic in name only. Generally, the emphasis is on Vedanta, Nyaya, which is logic, philosophy, poetry, and literature. When he mentioned the dearth of Vedic scholars, Swami Akhandananda suggested the name of Satyabrata Samasrami Mukunda Babu, immediately directed the principal to go to Sumasrami 2 days a week to take lessons in the Vedas. At the home of Satyabrata Sumasrami, Swami Akhandananda chanced to meet Meghnad Bhattacharya, professor of Ajmer College, a younger brother of Hariprasad Shastri, the historian. He took the Swami to his home at Naihati. There the Swami spent a few days in delightful conversation with his host on historical subjects. Here, too, he heard an exposition of the Mahabhashya of Panini from Bahubala Shastri, a learned scholar. Unfortunately, he had to return to the Ulambazar Mat before the exposition was completed. On his return, he found that Swami Akhandananda had come back to the Mat, having spent some time in severe austerities and in traveling around the country. During his travels, Swami Akhandananda had taken the opportunity to study the Sariraka Bhashya with Dhanraj Giri, who was a Mandala Swara, the abbot of Rishikesh. Swami Shivananda and Akhandananda took this opportunity to hear the exposition in a daily 2-hour session with Swami Akhandananda. Swami Akhandananda had been in good health in Rajputana, but in Bengal he began to suffer from malaria. One night he had a headache, and Swami Subodhananda applied a paste of pepper to his head. This relieved the pain for a while. Then, as his thoughts turned to Vedanta, he became so absorbed that he felt no more pain for the rest of the night. The nature of his thoughts, which he recorded later, were along the following line. The 5 attitudes, which are Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsala, and Madhura, peaceful love, servantship, friendship, motherliness, and sweet consortship. Among the five attitudes, like Shanta, Dasya, etc., of man towards God, are but creations of his own imagination. According to his natural inclination, he settles upon one particular relationship which is sublime, and he enjoys bliss in that mood for a while. The supreme truth, the non-dual Brahman, is beyond thought and imagination, inexpressible, ever pure, ever free, all-knowing. That I am, Soham. There is no higher truth than this. May it ever be my desire to be established in it. Dwelling on such thoughts till the night was almost over, the Swami was just falling asleep, when there appeared before his mind's eye the baby Krishna, Gopala, with open palm outstretched for a sweetmeat. He was crawling on his hands and knees and looked like a beautiful figure carved from blue sapphire. The effulgence of his body illumined the room. A divine smile played on his lips. Speaking of the extraordinary vision, the Swami said, "In and through me, Mother Yashoda, dressed like a milkmaid of Vraja, with food in hand, calls Gopala to take the food. As Gopala crawls towards his mother on hands and knees, she is full of joy, but when he turns away, she sobs and calls out to him." While this sport of Mother Yashoda and Gopala was going on, I saw the master appear, with one end of his red-bordered cloth thrown over his shoulder, and pointing his right forefinger now at Mother Yashoda, and then again at Gopala. He was saying, "Look at them, how sublime." Swami Akhandananda, overwhelmed with the joy and wonder of what he saw, cried out, "Lord, I do not care for nirvana. Oh, I would be born 100 times to taste such bliss as this." Then as he moved towards the master, Gopala, and Mother Yashoda, the vision vanished. In the summer of 1896, while he was still at the Ulambazar, one day at noon, Swami Akhandananda, along with his brother monks, lay down to rest. The others fell asleep, but not he. Suddenly the thought struck him, "My vow is to render service to others. I cannot sleep. But the others, though asleep, are suffering from the heat. I may as well fan them so that they can rest peacefully." So thinking, he began to fan the brothers with a large fan, and they all slept in comfort. Swami Akhandananda felt no fatigue. Rather, he felt refreshed and his heart was at peace. That he could understand and respond to others' needs gave him great happiness, as well as hope of attaining his cherished goal of life. Later, Swami Akhandananda spoke of his feelings on that day. Since the desire to render service was the aim of his life, his heart soared high on wings of joy. Vistas of new possibilities in life were revealed to him. Although the fanning of his sleeping brothers was in itself an unimportant act, the dedication to service awakened in the Swami was highly significant. Towards the latter part of July 1896, Swami Vivekananda wrote to Swami Akhandananda, asking him to go to London, advising him to take with him all the available Vedic literature he could find. Swami Akhandananda purchased a set of the books compiled by the Vedic scholar Samasrami. A few days later, Swami Akhandananda was given a hearty send-off by his brother monks at the wharf, where a group photo was taken. Following Swami Akhandananda's departure, Swami Akhandananda stayed at Balaram Babu's house in Calcutta for a short time. He paid a daily visit to the Asiatic Society, the present Calcutta Museum. He was interested in the collections of lava specimens, fossils, and the like. Sounds kind of like a natural history museum, doesn't it? He also frequented the Society's library at Park Street, seeing the portraits of Sir William James, the famed archaeologist founder of the Society, and other learned men. It was here that one day he chanced to meet Ashutosh Mukhopadhyaya. Okay. The footnote on that is an illustrious son of Bengal, later a high court judge, a vice-chancellor of Calcutta University, and an eminent educationist. Who was then a pleader of the High Court. He visited the art gallery of Mr. Havel and was transported with joy when he saw paintings there of the familiar Himalayan scenes, gorges, rivers, and springs, forests of pine and cedar, and the lofty ice-clad peaks. Toward the end of 1896, Dr. Turnbull, an American admirer of Swamiji, came to Calcutta and sought out the Ulambazar Math. Swami Akhandananda arranged for his residence at a garden house in Aryadaha near Dakshineshwar. Dr. Turnbull was learned in astrology, and on seeing the master's horoscope, he believed him to be a savior. In the course of his stay in India, he read Longfellow's poems to Swami Akhandananda, and in turn learned Sanskrit grammar from the Swami. He spent his days at the Math, returning to his residence in the evening after the Vesper service. A short while before this, a Bengali preacher had returned from America and was speaking ill of Swamiji. With the timely arrival of Dr. Turnbull, many people requested him to refute the motivated remarks of the preacher, and this he did in several lectures, pointing out the divine genius of Swamiji and describing his extraordinary influence in America. Almost every mail brought copies of Swamiji's speeches printed in booklet form. The brothers of the Math read them avidly. In one booklet was printed, "After the human birth, there is a gradual evolution and never a regression into the body of a lower animal." This struck Swami Akhandananda as rather strange. How could Swamiji's words contradict the scriptures? As he found it contrary to the Vedas, he pointed out to Swami Ramakrishna the verse in the Chandogya Upanishad, where it said that the human soul can both progress and regress on the path towards ultimate liberation. Swami Ramakrishna snatched away the booklet and asked him not to discuss it with anybody until Swamiji came back. A few days later, another booklet arrived in which Swamiji stated, "The soul experiences evolution and atavism according to its karma." How the obvious error had occurred was somewhat perplexing to Swami Akhandananda, and he had to wait patiently for the solution until Swamiji returned. On the 15th day of January in 1897, news came that Swamiji had landed in Ceylon. Swami Shivananda and Niranjanananda went there from the Math to meet him. Preparations were being made at Madras to accord Swamiji a grand reception, and it was the heart's desire of Swami Akhandananda to arrange a similar reception for him in Calcutta. He went to Tarakeshwar to persuade the Mahanta, the abbot, Satisgiri, a sannyasin of the Dashanami Sampradaya. It's one of the 10 orders of monks founded by Shankara, to sponsor the undertaking. But as Swamiji had been born in a Kshatriya family, the sannyasin would not agree to this request. Footnote on that. According to the orthodox orders founded by Shankaracharya, only a Brahmin may become a sannyasin. Swami Akhandananda mentioned in the course of their talk that Swami Vivekananda had been welcomed at the Sringeri Math and at Rameshwaram, but to no avail. They're sites of great monasteries of the Shankara orders. The sadhu would not agree. Swami Akhandananda then felt it was a misfortune that Mahanta Satisgiri would not be able to welcome the Swami. As there was no time to lose, he paid his homage to the temple of Tarakeshwar and was leaving when the Mahanta sent for him. In asking pardon for his refusal, he explained to the Swami that he was occupied with other affairs and had no time. In his boyhood, Swami Akhandananda had heard of the Kali at Singapore, which was worshipped by robbers of that area desirous of success in daring exploits. Desiring to see this deity, he set out on foot from Tarakeshwar. On the way, he became aware of the miserable condition of the villagers, who were sickly and emaciated, with distended abdomens due to the ravages of malaria. This pitiable condition saddened him, and he sighed, when will better days come? Having made his salutations to the Kali of Singur, Swami Akhandananda proceeded towards the Triveni, again the meeting of the 3 rivers. After some inquiries, he found the home of the famous scholar Jagannath Tarkapanchachana, where Sir William Jones had sat at the scholar's feet to learn Sanskrit. He took the dust of the place on his head and set out for his return trip to the Math. When he returned to Ulambazar, he found a letter addressed to him from Pramada Babu informing him that in a village of Oud there was a scholar of the Vedas who could be engaged for a monthly salary of 40 rupees along with daily food. Such was the lack of funds at this time that the brothers of the Math were only loincloths. Even then, Swami Ramakrishna agreed to the proposal in his enthusiasm to establish a school for Vedic studies. However, all were now busy at the Math preparing for Swamiji's reception, and for the time being, the long-cherished plan was set aside. Of this, Swami Akhandananda later wrote, If only we had been able to show Swamiji that we had started a Vedic school at the Mott, how glad he would have been. But such was the occasion, and such was our frame of mind then, that we were all occupied with him alone. Swamiji landed at Kedarpur with his disciples and went to Sealdah in a special train. With his arrival at Calcutta, the air resounded with shouts of glory to Ramakrishna, glory to Vivekananda. At the Ripon College, Swamiji delighted the elite assemblage with a short address. He spent the midday at Pashupatinath Basu's house at Bagh Bazar, and then went to the Ulambazar Mott. Plantain trees had been planted on either side of the Mott gate, and pitchers full of water were placed at the foot of the trees. Mango twigs and leaves adorned the pitchers. With these auspicious signs at the Mott entrance, the monks of Ulambazar accorded a hearty reception to their dearest brother. It was arranged that Swamiji's disciples from America and Madras would stay at Gopal Lal Seal's garden house at Kasipur. During the days, Swamiji would meet the visitors there and return to spend his nights at the Mott. While he was in the Mott, Swamiji gave special attention to the health of the monks. An arrangement for filtered water at the Mott pleased him very much. He taught the monks some easy physical exercises devised by Del Sarte, which were routinely followed at the Mott for some time. And a footnote on that. A system of calisthenics invented by the French teacher of music and dramatics. At last there was a suitable occasion one day. Swami Akhandananda said to Swamiji, "All your utterances are based on Shruti and Smriti, but in one pamphlet you have made a statement contrary to Shruti. You have said that a man cannot be reborn into a lower form. Elsewhere you say that the human soul is subject to both progress and regress. These contrary statements can be corrected only by you." "Rightly said, my brother," replied Swamiji. "It was an error of my stenographer. He could accept all my views except the possibility of a man being reborn in an animal form. It was not agreeable to him. After the address had come out in print, I noticed the mistake." Swami Akhandananda called Swami Ramakrishna and told him that what Swamiji had said. When Swamiji learned of the discussion they had over it, they all had a hearty laugh. And I'm going to just continue because there's 3 paragraphs to the end of the chapter. A few days later, on the 28th of February, Swamiji was presented with a splendid address of welcome by the citizens of Calcutta in the spacious open court of the Raj Palace of Shobazar. Inspired with the spirit and faith of a pioneer in a new age, Swami Vivekananda stood upon the platform in Calcutta, the city of his birth, and sent forth a call to the young men of his country in these words: "We want spiritual ideals before us. We want enthusiastically to gather round grand spiritual names. Our heroes must be spiritual. Such a hero has been given to us in the person of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. If this nation wants to rise, take my word for it, it will have to rally enthusiastically around his name." Speaking about the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, he said, "Look at the handful of young men called into existence by the divine touch of Ramakrishna's feet. They have preached the message from Assam to Sindh, from the Himalayas to Cape Comorin. They have crossed the Himalayas at a height of 20,000 feet over snow and ice on foot, and have penetrated into the mysteries of Tibet. They have baked their bread, covered themselves with rags. They have been persecuted, followed by the police, kept in prison, and at last set free, when the government was convinced of their innocence. A few days later, Swamiji delivered his famous lecture at the Star Theatre, but it was noticed that the years of hard work had ruined his health. He needed rest, and at the advice of doctors, he left for Darjeeling with Swami Brahmananda, Girish Chandra Ghosh, and some others. Now we're going to, next week, not talk about this, because next Wednesday, I do believe, is Holy Mother's Puja, and we will not be having this reading at 5 o'clock. Is that right? Yeah, okay. Sometimes I've got my dates mixed up right now. Christmas has been a crowded time. Okay, so we will not have the reading of Swami Akhandananda's life next Wednesday, the 3rd. We will have Gospel reading December 30th at 5 p.m. And Sunday on New Year's Eve, we will have Swami Vivekananda. I think you remember he gave a lecture once. He's come from India. He's doing some study at Harvard this year. And his talk at 11 a.m. on Sunday the 31st will be Christ's influence on Sri Ramakrishna. This is a last-minute change. It was supposed to be his brother, Swami Harinananda, but it's Swami Vivekananda, who has been at Advaita Ashram in Calcutta. Okay, Sunday, December 31st, the same Sunday, at 11:30 to midnight, we'll have our usual New Year's meditation. And Monday, January 1st at 5:30, we'll have a Kalpataru Day reading. Now, many of you, Kalpataru Day was the day that Ramakrishna granted spiritual enlightenment to almost everyone he saw. Okay? And Wednesday, the 3rd of January, it's Holy Mother's Puja from 11 to 3. 11, the puja in the temple. 12:45, home of fire, and followed by lunch. Okay, I hope to see you in person if you can get here, or I hope you get to be with us by Zoom or YouTube. And I hope everyone had a really nice Christmas. Good. We had a wonderful turnout for both Rajaprana's lecture and the coffee that followed, and then the sing-along carols. And I'm sure some of you tuned into that, at least, and sang at home with us, with your microphones turned off. Okay. Any questions on what we read about this part of Akhandananda's journey and Swamiji's return to India? Okay. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Panamastu. See you.
Thank you.
Good to see all of you.